grade 10. So this week we have started with a new lesson, with a new chapter. It's chapter 7 that talks about first degree equations and inequalities in one unknown. So as you can see, our chapter is divided into two parts, the equations and inequalities, and how do we solve them, knowing that both of them are of first degree in one unknown. So let us see quickly the plan of our chapter. So first we are going to talk about the first degree equations, and then we are going to talk about the first degree, inequalities. In first degree equations, we are going to see how can we solve the equations that are first degree. And if it's second degree, how can we change it into first degree? Also in the inequalities, we talked about how do we solve first degree inequalities. The second degree, of course, we are going to start with it next week. So let us make a quick revision for the things that we have learned. As I said, first we talk about how do we solve first degree equation. Before starting, let us remember together the remarkable identities that we learned last year. They are the first three. The others, of course, you can study them because they make calculation easier for you. So first of all, the first identity, which is a plus b squared, is equal to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared when you want to expand, and vice if you want to factorize. Also, a minus b, all of it squared, it's a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. A squared minus b squared is a minus b and a plus. How can I solve first degree equation? So first of all, the first degree equation, it's known as ax plus b equals to 0. The solution of ax plus b equals to 0 is x equals minus b over a. Let us take an example. So if I have 3x over 5 minus 2x over 7 equals x over 2 minus 3. This is an equation of first degree equation. The first thing I'm going to do is to make a common denominator for all the denominators that we have. So the common denominator for 5, 7, 2 is 70. That means I have to multiply the 5 by 7, the 7 by 5, and the 2 by 35, and 3 by 70. So I will get this expression that leads, I can cross out the 70 from both sides, that leads to the first degree equation, which is minus 13x plus 210. As I said here, you have to take the variable to a side and keep the x. So if you take 210 to the other side, it's minus 13x equals minus 210. And the solution is x equals 210 over 13. So of course, we will have one solution because it's of first degree. Sometimes we will not have a solution, but it's a maximum of one solution. Now, what if we have a second degree equation or third degree? These are called equations that can be changed to first degree equations or equations that can be factorized. If you factorize the equation, you will get, for example, x plus 1 into x plus 3, suppose that. Okay, this equation equals to 0 means I have two expressions. That's what I meant by a times b equals to 0. So you take each one alone. So x plus 1 equals to 0 or x plus 3 equals to 0. That leads me back to the first case of, let us go back, that leads me first situation, which is ax plus b equals to 0. And in this case, x equals minus b over a. So if you solve each one alone, you will get two solutions, x equals something and x equals something. Let us take an example. So here we have x squared minus 1 equals x plus 1 into 2x minus 5. The first thing I'm going to do is to bring everything to the left side equals to 0 and factorize. First of all, x squared minus 1, according to the identities that we have explained, is equal to x minus 1 into x plus 1, right? So now I have a common factor, which is x plus 1. So we take x plus 1 as common. That gives me x minus 1 minus 2x plus 5 equals 0. So I have two expressions, x plus 1 into minus x plus 4 equals to 0. So I'm going to take each one alone equals to 0. So I got two solutions, x equal minus 1 and x equal 4. So these are the solutions. Okay? So if I have equation of second degree, you have to know that you have to factorize in order to have two expressions of first degree or two terms of first degree. Now, what if I have A over B? As you can see here, A over B. If you have a fraction where you have an unknown in the denominator, you have to take the denominator different than 0, which called the condition, and you take the numerator equals to 0. Okay, so look at this example that we have solved in class. Before starting by anything, I have to take the condition, which is the denominator different than 0. So x squared minus 1 is already x minus 1 into x plus 1. So I will take x plus 1 different than 0 and x minus 1 different than 0. So I got x different than 1 and x different than minus 1. That means all the numbers, real numbers, are accepted except 1 and minus 1. Now we solve. How do we solve? We do the same denominator for all, which is x squared minus 1. That means I have to multiply this fraction by x minus 1 and this fraction by x plus 1. After putting it in a one line of fraction, you can cross out the denominator and you get 3 minus x. Now, after having this fraction, you take 3 minus x equals to 0, so x equal 3. You always check, is 3 accepted? Yes, because x cannot be 1 and minus 1. It could be anything else. So 3 is accepted. So I have one solution. Okay? Now, how do we solve the absolute? We already learned how do we solve absolute value in the second chapter we have learned. So you take it in two conditions. 2x minus 3 equals 5 and 2x minus 3 equals minus 5. Do you still remember the same and the opposite? So in this case, the absolute value leads you to maximum of two answers, of course, maximum of two solutions. So you take it same and opposite and you solve it, so you will have two solutions. These are some problems. We didn't take them. How do we change a problem into an equation? Okay. And we also learned how do we solve first degree inequalities in one unknown. Okay. How do we solve it? It's the same as we solve in equations, the numbers to a side and the variables to a side. But the final answer will be as an interval, okay? What I meant is, suppose we have 2x minus 3 less than 5x minus 1 over 4 minus 5. So you take the x to a side and the number to a side and you do same denominator, you will get the final answer, which is x less than minus 3. What does x less than minus 3 equals? It's an interval, of course. It's not a specific value, and that's the main difference between equations and inequalities, is the way we write the solution or the number of solutions we have at the end. So in equations of first degree, you have maximum of 1. In equations of second degree, you have maximum of 2 solutions. But when you say inequalities, you will have infinite number of solutions. So for example, if we have x less than minus 3, the solution is minus infinity minus 3. Which means that we have an interval. All the numbers between minus infinity and minus 3 are solutions. Next week, of course, we are going to talk about the sign of an expression. When I ask you the sign, which means where is it negative and where is it positive? And we are going to talk about the second degree inequalities.